The Jonin rank is extremely difficult to attain in the Naruto universe. Only the top 1% of ninjas will ever be promoted to Jonin. However, there are a few injustices committed against some ninjas in the verse. Ninjas that certainly deserve to one day be promoted to Jonin, however, they never were in their entire careers as ninjas promoted to Jonin, ever. While we see a couple of other characters that certainly do not deserve as much credit, but they are elevated to Jonin. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about those characters that were unfairly treated by Kishimoto and never became Jonins, even though they should have. Starting off with Anko Mitarashi, the Proctor of the Forest of Death. Now, everybody knows Anko. She's pretty cool, and she had an interesting character arc back in Naruto Part 1. Anko is a special Jonin. Now, you may say, whoa, so she's a Jonin, what are you talking about? But no, special Jonins are not fully fledged Jonins. A special Jonin only have elite level capabilities in one particular aspect of Shinobi life, unlike full Jonins who need all-round elite capabilities. So special Jonin is a rank between Chunin and Jonin for people that have one very good set of skills, but they're not so great at others they can be called Jonin. However, when you look at Anko, for example, she literally chased Orochimaru in the Forest of Death the moment she found out Orochimaru was interfering with the exam, so this is something kinda big. Yes, Anko was Orochimaru's former student, so she had a little bit of personal stakes into the matter, and she was acting very impulsively because, let's be real, Anko had no chance against Orochimaru, and she went after the guy anyways, but she looks like the type of ninja who has the set of skills to become Jonin eventually. Now, maybe she wouldn't begin the series as a Jonin. A character like her beginning as a special Jonin is fine, but she could have advanced into the Jonin rank. She knew Orochimaru's snake jutsus, which are very powerful. She knew the twin snake sacrifice, a jutsu that's also very potent. And she served as squad leader when they were hunting down Kabuto. And yet she never got a promotion to the Jonin rank, not even in Boruto. The only thing she really got in Boruto were extra pounds, which is unfortunate, because Anko falls in that category of interesting characters with cool concepts. And a lot of potential that Kishimoto just kind of forgets about and doesn't really develop any further after Naruto Shippuden starts. So yeah, moving on to Raido, the guy with that weird scar across his face. He's also a special Jonin when he is introduced. And we see that he goes on missions with Jonins. Shizune was in a mission with him when they encountered the Sound 4 in the Sasuke retrieval arc, and he fought against the Sound 4 when they all activated the second stage of the Curse Mark. He also fought against Kakuzu and Hidan in Naruto Shippuden, so he is a guy that certainly deserves to be a Jonin. If you look at Izumo and Kotetsu, for example, and how they did against Kakuzu and Hidan, and then you compare it to how he did, for instance, it's night and day. Izumo and Kotetsu were really struggling, and they're just Chunins, but Raido and Aoba in that situation actually managed to press them down. He was also chosen for the squad that was going to protect the feudal lords in the war arc alongside the 5th Mizukage, a job that's very important. And the guy overall seems to be very powerful. He's actually an assassin by nature, so just give him the Jonin rank, Kishimoto, come on. Genma is another character that deserved to be a Jonin, and he kind of falls in the same category as Raido here, because they do a lot of the same stuff, to be honest. They are in the Hokage Guard. They were taught by Minato on how to use the Flying Raijin as a group. Genma was with Raido when they fought against the Sound 4, so they both lost that fight together, but it was a 4 against 2, and they were both out of chakra because they just had gone on a mission. But Genma has the added feat of fighting against Baki, a Jonin from the Sand Village, in the Konoha Crush arc for over an hour. You know, while Hiruzen was pulling Orochimaru's soul out of his body with a Reaper Death Seal, the entire fight down in the arena was going on, and Genma was fighting against Baki. And they pretty much stalemated each other. So, if Genma can fight against a Jonin-level opponent, and Baki completely destroyed Hayate, who's another special Jonin just like Genma is, well, Genma hold his own against Baki. And he also looks really, really cool, man. So just give Genma the Jonin rank. What are you waiting, Kishimoto? He used his toothpick to counter a kunai. His toothpick is stronger than a kunai, dude. Like, this is insane. Now, moving on to Aoba, the guy with the sunglasses. He's another special Jonin, and we see him fighting briefly in the arena during the Konoha Crush arc, but his most important feats come in Naruto Shippuden, when he first uses his Crow Jutsu to essentially beat Kakuzu and Hidan. Kakuzu and Hidan see no alternative other than just running away after they see Aoba showing up in the battlefield, and his Crow Jutsu. And let me remind you, the only other person that uses crows in the series is Itachi, and Itachi is younger than Aoba, so there's a high chance Itachi learned his Crow Jutsus from Aoba himself. And then when Aoba is sent to protect Naruto in the Turtle Island during Naruto's training of KCM, and Kabuto tries to invade the island, he sees Aoba and he thinks to himself, oh, even Aoba's here? So War Arc Kabuto, one of the strongest characters in the series up until that point, saw Aoba and he was a little shook by him. He was like, oh damn, that guy's here? And he's only a special Jonin and he's scaring Kabuto? Now maybe this is because Kabuto knew Aoba could collect intel from him if he was captured, because he knew the mind invasion jutsu Inoichi used, for instance, to collect intel on Pain, and so he could collect intel on the War Arc, on Obito, on the Zetsu army and stuff, so Kabuto wouldn't want that. But having Kabuto recognize you in that particular state, a Kabuto so powerful he could bring an entire army of Edo Tensei into the world, is pretty impressive. And Aoba is a very well-rounded shinobi. He has intel gathering capabilities, he has strong ninjutsu, he has the crow summons. This guy certainly deserves to be a Jonin, not just a special Jonin. Now the next one, obviously he couldn't become a Jonin for story purposes, but I have to mention him here. Might Guy's dad, the Eternal Genin. Obviously, he had to be an Eternal Genin for the entire plot surrounding him and Guy to work. We see his flashback during Guy's fight against Madara Uchiha in his Ten Tails Jinchuriki form, the strongest character we've ever seen, and the Leaf Village ninjas don't really acknowledge Guy. They think he is a stupid person for trying to instill those teachings about youth onto Guy, and everybody mocks him because he's a 35-year-old Genin. But the way he goes down, he protects Might Guy by opening the 8th gate and holding the 7 ninja swordsmen, all 7 of them at the same time, at bay, so that Guy and his team can escape and survive. My Guy sacrifices his life to protect his son and his youth. Now you may say this really doesn't warrant a Jonin rank for him because he can only use the 8th gate once and then he dies, and this is true. But then in the Juzo filler arcs, we find out Might Guy actually killed 4 out of the 7 ninja swordsmen, which is pretty impressive. Only a handful of Jonin would ever be able to do something like that, and even if you don't consider the filler to hold any weight whatsoever, he managed to at least delay them long enough for Guy and his team to survive, which is certainly a Jonin feat, and I'm just gonna put him on this list because Might Guy deserves some respect. Ibiki is another ninja that should have been a Jonin at least one day because he's never promoted into it. Ibiki is such a cool character. The written test of the Chunin exams is one of the coolest and most creative parts of the entire series. The way he structures the test, the way he tests the will and the intelligence of our Genin participants is very well done and thought out. And Ibiki is another special Jonin. Obviously, he specializes in interrogation and the human mind. And sure, out of all the special Jonins we've talked here so far, he is the one that, yeah, he has one particular set of skills that really sets him apart. So that's Jonin level, but maybe not the rest of his abilities, so he's just a special Jonin. But then in the Pain arc, we see Ibiki using his Iron Maiden to counter some of the most powerful summons from the Animal Path, and he was doing pretty well against Pain, all things considered. And everybody just assumes Ibiki is a Jonin, a full one at that, and not just a special Jonin. People are kind of shocked sometimes when they learn he is not, because he really feels like an extremely important ninja of the Leaf Village that would be a Jonin. Like, if there's anybody that should be a Jonin, it's gonna be this guy. Yes, he specializes in interrogation, but he feels like a powerful character, and maybe he doesn't start as a Jonin in the beginning of the series when he's introduced, but he could advance into it. He's one of those characters that just needed more screen time because Ibiki's cool. At first, he acts very harshly around the Genins that were taking the Chunin exam. He puts them through this psychological hell, but when they pass, he smiles and even looks proud at what they've achieved. So he certainly should have been a Jonin. Now, the next character we're going to be talking about is a little personal, to be honest. He got done dirty in so many levels by Kishimoto that I have to try and give my boy some justice. And I'm talking about Shino Aburame. And Shino is one of those characters that doesn't really get a lot of screen time, but you either love him or you hate him. And I think people are starting to come around on Shino. The fandom in general are liking him more. Perhaps it's the effect of seeing how bad things can get in the Boruto story. So that, oh, Shino was actually a really cool character. I just didn't like insects when I saw him for the first time, so I found him icky, but he's actually a great character, and he had extremely engaging fights, but I didn't appreciate him back in the day, so Kishimoto just threw him aside. Now, Shino is the only character in the Naruto series that hasn't lost a single fight. He beats Zaku, he beats Kankuro, and he didn't get to go in the Sasuke retrieval arc because Kishimoto chose Kiba instead. But the worst thing that happens to Shino is that he becomes a joke character in Naruto Shippuden. He's used for gags, and he just didn't have that vibe back in part 1. He was actually a menacing character that always seemed like he was one step ahead, calculating everything. His fights had a lot of strategy behind them. Just go watch Shino vs. Zaku and Shino vs. Kankuro again. They're great fights. Seemed cold and calculating, but still a good person at heart. But in Naruto Shippuden, he's just like, oh, why didn't you bring me in the Sasuke retrieval arc mission? You guys are so mean. And he is a Chunin. As a matter of fact, he remains a Chunin even in the Boruto series. And that's not the worst thing they've done to Shino in the Boruto series, because now he looks like a stupid, weird-looking Cyclops from hell or something, with those stupid glasses of him. Why didn't you just give him normal sunglasses like the character used to wear before? What the hell, dude? And also, if there is somebody that deserved to be promoted to Jonin, it's gonna be him, because he is extremely intelligent. His powers are actually very good and varied. He can do a lot of stuff with his insects, and the Aburame clan can be nasty to deal with. Think about this for a second. Out of the Konoha 12 plus the Sound siblings, all of them became Chunins after the time skip, with the exception of Naruto and Sasuke, because they were no longer in the village, so they couldn't really do it. But out of those characters, only 4 advanced further than Chunin. Neji, Temari, and Kankuro became Jonins, and Gaara became the Kazekage. We don't know if Gaara became Jonin in between, you know, being a Genin and the Kazekage. We don't even know if he got promoted to Chunin, but it doesn't really matter that much, because he became the Kazekage, that's fine. But look at the other people who became Jonins. Temari, Kankuro, and Neji. Now, some people will say, well, Neji definitely deserved it, because he is the genius of the Hyuga clan and whatnot. Okay, fine. But then look at Kankuro and Temari. Do you know who beat Kankuro back in part 1? Shino. And he did not become a Jonin after the time skip for whatever reason, even though Shino was far smarter than any of them, and his powers are much more useful than the Byakugan and the Gentle Fist, for example. And don't even get me started at Kankuro's puppets, who got one-shot by a single blow from the Hiroko puppets Sasori was using. And let's be honest here, Shino would absolutely no diff Neji. What would he do? Gentle Fist like a billion insects or anything? Like, he doesn't have the speed to do that. He can deal 128 blows with his most potent jutsu, his fastest jutsu. Shino has 10,000 times that number of insects, so no, Neji cannot beat Shino. Neji is not as smart as Shino is. Shino can do way more stuff with his insects than Neji, because Neji doesn't really have range. No, Neji, well, he becomes a Jonin just, you know, because people like him or whatever, but Shino... No, man, yeah, let's just forget about Shino and do nothing with the character. And the funny thing is that out of the Konoha 12 characters, the only ones who were promoted to Jonin in Boruto were Sakura, Shikamaru, and Rock Lee. The others remained Chunin. I mean, I guess Neji was promoted before them, but he died. Take that, Neji! You became a Jonin, but you're dead, and Shino's alive. But yeah, Choji, Ino, Hinata, Kiba, and Tenten, they're all Chunin in Boruto. But yeah, Shino should have been a Jonin. If you disagree with me, you're just wrong. Moving on to Sasuke Uchiha. Now, of course, Sasuke left the village when he was 13 or so, and then he came back when he was 17, so he didn't really have an opportunity to advance through the ranks in the Shinobi system. He couldn't become a Chunin, take the Chunin exams, much less a Jonin, because you have to be appointed by your Kage to become a Jonin. But, I mean, once Sasuke returns to the Leaf Village after Naruto's Talk no Jutsu, he should have been elevated to the Jonin rank, but such an elevation never really happens. And Rinnegan Sasuke, I would say he is a little bit above Jonin level, just a tad. I mean, if you watch Boruto, you're not gonna think that because he's fodder in Boruto, but if you look at the Naruto series, he's pretty strong. I guess he becomes the Shadow Hokage, that's his title or whatever, but it's kind of outside the chain of command. Anyways, the next ninja that should have become a Jonin was Naruto Uzumaki, the main character of the series. Never becomes a Chunin and never becomes a Jonin. Now yes, he becomes the Hokage, but he's never promoted to the Jonin rank. Now you may say, no, he got promoted, you know, in the final arc of the Naruto series, and this is only in the anime because it didn't happen in the manga, but Kakashi, when he becomes the Hokage, he promotes Naruto to the Jonin rank. Yes, he did so, but he told Naruto he would only actually become a Jonin once he did a lot of studying, caught up with other disciplines in the Shinobi world that he wasn't very good at, such as strategic analysis and all those more mental abilities that Naruto wasn't really known for. Even though he was pretty smart during his fights, he wasn't a book-smart guy. And in order for you to be a Jonin, you have to have all of those aspects well-rounded. And the thing is that in the Boruto anime, Naruto literally tells the Genins that, yeah, I never became a Chunin, things just kind of happened and I went straight from Genin to Hokage, meaning that Kakashi never promoted Naruto into the Jonin rank after, well, he promised Naruto to do so, but apparently Naruto didn't study enough, or maybe he was just too busy with missions and whatnot. But the thing is, it took over 10 years for Naruto to become a Hokage after the war arc ended. So for over 10 years, you got Naruto, who had access to 6-path Sage Mode and the strongest Biju on the planet, a guy that could create 10,000 Shadow Clones and use every single nature transformation, every single KK Genkai, and he was a Genin. He never even became a Chunin. Much less a Jonin. Now yes, he becomes a Hokage in the end, but imagine Naruto as a Genin. Kakashi just tells him, yeah, Naruto, go find the cats for me, please, go there. Because that's the type of mission Genins usually go on, so you're essentially using your demigod Shinobi to go after cats and stuff. Now I know this is not what happened, but according to Naruto's statement, when he was a Hokage, he never became a Chunin. And I mean, he certainly should have. As I mentioned before, his abilities far surpassed a Jonin. I mean, they far surpassed practically anybody that had ever lived. And yeah, maybe you can say Naruto's not the smartest guy. He doesn't know a lot about KK Genkais, how chakra works and stuff, but I mean, Guy wasn't the most book smart guy ever, and he became a Jonin. The Raikage certainly wasn't the most intelligent person ever, and he became a Jonin, and then the Raikage as well. But I guess Naruto had to learn the hard way that becoming a Hokage is tough for character development. Even though the way he becomes Hokage is absolutely stupid. Himawari one-shots him and Konohamaru has to take his place. Why did they do that? Turning the most important day of Naruto's life into a gag. I wouldn't have done that whatsoever, but what can we expect from the Boruto series, am I right? Anyways, these were the characters that should have been Jonins and never were. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video, and also please like the video, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Watch this other cool video right here for more Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching.